to episode 99. Yes, 99 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki. This is Olive. Say hello, Olive. And this is a podcast all about knitting and crochet and making all the things here in East London. Olive has gone off exploring. She will no doubt be playing with her little fish toy here. I was meant to film an episode last weekend, but life got in the way. I was actually out celebrating a hag do, which is a combined hen and stag do for some friends who are getting married in December. And it started with Halloween bingo. It was Halloween themed, fairly early in the day. So I couldn't fit in all the errands that I needed to run and getting ready because we dressed up. I was Wednesday Addams, and I couldn't fit all of that in and film. So yes, I didn't get around to filming last weekend, and on Sunday I was very, very tired. We didn't get in until about 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't really drink, so I wasn't hungover, but I was tired. Oh, hello? There's your adoring public, Olive. No? It's quite rude, you know. We have talked about this. Sorry, we're working on her manners. So there wasn't an episode last weekend, hence why there is one this weekend. Now it is a very, very gloomy day. It's only lunchtime on a Saturday, but it's very gloomy. It's been like this all day. It's been raining all day. I got up quite early. I got a lot of things done this morning, and I thought, oh, it'll brighten up eventually. It has not. We're doing the best with what we can, and the reason I haven't put up my lights is just because someone might knock them over, and also I do have to run some errands after this. I have to go to the shops before they shut, so I just wanted to be able to put things away quite quickly. So if it's a bit gloomy, I do apologise. Despite the gloom, Olive still loves looking out the window, so there you go. As always, everything I mention in this episode will be linked just down below. Where possible, I will find non-Ravelry links, and I will link everything very clearly, Ravelry or non-Ravelry. So if you can't use Ravelry, hopefully there will be an alternative for you there. Also linked down below will be my Ko-fi account. But let's be honest, if you donate anything to my Ko-fi account, it'll probably go on this little one and not on me. And I say that in all seriousseriousness because I spent this week building a cat tree that is very, very big and is much bigger than I thought it was going to be. It is about, I'm about 5'6", 5'7". It's about 5 foot. She loves it. She's got full real estate over here. She's very, very happy. So if you did donate any money to my Ko-fi, thank you very much. I massively appreciate it, even if I do end up spending it all on my cat. And while we're on the subject of gratitude, thank you for giving the podcast a shot. If you are a new viewer, welcome. There are so many to choose from, so I really appreciate you joining me today. And if you are one of my returning viewers, welcome back. It's always lovely to have you here, so thank you for taking the time to sit and have a cup of tea with me. Today's tea is in a brand new mug because I can't resist a cool mug. It's a lovely shape. It's a good huggable shape, you see? Good huggable shape. It says Goddess Energy, which is what I needed this week. And it's Tregothnan Nettle tea. The main reason for this is because I'm out of milk, which limited my tea options. That is one of the errands I need to run quite urgently after this. But without further ado, let's move on to Whipped Up. Now, I say pretty much every week how busy I've been. I'm a manager in a startup. It is a very, very busy job. But this week was really something else. So Monday, I was producing an episode of a show that we do. Tuesday, I was setting up an in-person exhibition stand. I was then on the stand all day Wednesday when I wasn't hiding behind it trying to catch up on emails. And Thursday, I had to catch up. I was back at my desk at last, so I was catching up on everything I'd missed. Friday was a live stream day. It felt like about 3 weeks long. It was a very long week. So I didn't get a huge amount of knitting done this week. And a lot of that is to do with just the pure mental exhaustion was so extreme that I couldn't even pick up my litmus and go round and round and round. I didn't cook a lot. I cooked, but I was cooking things like beans on toast because they were quick and easy. I wasn't cooking proper meals. I got a takeaway on one evening, and then I was just kind of slumping in front of Doctor Who with Olive, just like, so not a huge amount to report, and it will not take a genius to work out what I'm going to show you, because yes, it is my litmus cowl. This is the Litmus by Jude Harper of Stranded Dye Works. Oh, somebody knows there's yarn to play with. We'll get it out in a minute when she's distracted. But this is the Litmus cowl by Jude Harper of Stranded Dye Works and Stranded the podcast, and it is knit out of Stranded Dye Works First Frost. That is the grey that I'm striping between every other colour, and the main bright colours are from Jude's Pride 2022 collection, where every colour in the rainbow was dyed by a queer or LGBTQIA plus dyer in the community. And now that someone's distracted, we're gonna get it out. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I spoke too soon and she's not distracted at all. Not as much work on this as in previous weeks, but I do have a long meeting coming up, so we know what that means. So I've done after the yellow, the grey stripe. This is the First Frost by Stranded. This green is really something else. This is sort of mossy, but it has these like little pops of neony yellow as well as the kind of dark browny green that's more mossy. It's really, really lovely. Another strand of First Frost, and then I've just started blue, which is this kind of, if I can find it in the bag, where is it? There it is. Swimming pool blue. This is very holiday to me. This is very, very holiday. Gosh, it's so gloomy. I'm so sorry. And now to find out a little bit more about the dyers. So the green is by Old Maiden Aunt. Lilith is a queer autistic yarn dyer based on the west coast of Scotland, where she's been in business as Old Maiden Aunt since 2007, and I've actually used Old Maiden Aunt before. I knit my friend a cowl, if you remember, where I held Old Maiden Aunt double with some yarn that she gave me from her mother. Beautiful, beautiful yarn. I actually have another skein of that purple, and I should do something with it because it is beautiful. So this is actually one of the few dyers that I have used before. Most of the people in this collection, I haven't used their yarn before. Now the blue, which is, I'm gonna have to show you in the ball because I did only start it last night, so there's nothing really to show in the cowl that you can see. The blue is by Gamer Crafting. Gamer Crafting is run by Angie and her wife Sarah, based in Scotland. Definitely Scottish vibe this week. They dye yarn for geeks and gamers, as well as selling a range of pins and bags featuring artwork designed by Sarah. Don't knock over the cup. I can see you planning the jump. Protect the yarn. Now, as that is my only whip this week, I will be talking about books in Knit and Natter. So Knit and Natter will be a little longer than it usually is. No, Baba, no. I'm gonna put this away before she starts chewing on it. That is something else. I mentioned it last episode. We're working on not chewing yarn, and she is getting better. But when I'm tired, I don't necessarily have the energy to hide it. Now after the blue, I have only got the violet to do, and then the trans colours. So I've only got 4 more stripes to do after this. I don't think it will be finished by the end of November. I do think it will be finished by Christmas, however, which is good news. Little present to myself. Now I will be casting on something else today. I'm planning to cast on my first Christmas sock of the year while watching Strictly later. The plan is to get all of my errands and this editing done before Strictly so that I can just sit and indulge myself because I absolutely love that show. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. I wanted to cast it on last night, but I was cooking and then I had to clean and it was just thinking, nah. So hopefully next time there will be something else to show you. I am planning to cast on my West Yorkshire Spinners Gingerbread House Christmas yarn for this year. And the reason I'm going for that is because it's ready wound. It's one less thing to have to do before I can just start knitting. Another reason that I am going to get a sock cast on as soon as possible, i.e. today, we hope, is because I have a friend visiting next Friday. I've got the day off, we're having a day out, and I need something to put in my handbag. And my new handbag is not going to be big enough for my litmus cowl, unfortunately. So I need a sock. I absolutely need a sock. Someone's playing with the tassels on my little knitting bag. So that, unfortunately, is it for Whipped Up. I say every week I shouldn't feel guilty, but I am starting to feel guilty about the fact that that's all I've worked on. But, you know, needs must. However, that guilt means you get a slightly juicier than usual knit and natter, because we are going to be talking about books. Oh yes. So let's move right on to finding out what I've been reading in knit and natter. Now, because I've been doing so much commuting over the last couple of weeks, I've got a lot more reading done than usual. You can hear the bell, that's just her little fish with the bell on it. I've got a lot more reading done than usual because I've been on the tube so much. I don't tend to knit on the tube just because it's quite packed, and you know, if I don't always know that my stop is coming up, so I just have to jump up, and that's not great with knitting. So I tend to keep knitting at home unless it's a longer journey. Otherwise I read. So I wanted to talk to you about some of the things I have really been loving reading this year, because I've not read as much as last year, but particularly the last 2 or 3 weeks I've been reading quite a lot, getting through quite a few books, and really loving them. I've had a good run of really good books to read. Hello. Do you want to come up and talk about books too? Now first, I'm going to talk about some series that I've enjoyed, because the wonderful thing about a series is if you enjoy it, you don't really have to think about what you're going to read next. You'll just read the next one in the series, which is great. And there are a few series that I want to talk about. And the first one is Whitehaven Witches and the spin-off series Whitehaven Hunters. And I absolutely love this. So Whitehaven Witches is set in Cornwall, and it's about a coven of witches who rediscover like real power, and they protect their town from kind of various paranormal supernatural threats. It's really good, and Whitehaven Hunters is a spin-off from that, where some supernatural creatures become kind of like Indiana Jones style hunters. So they track down occult and supernatural objects, and it kind of takes them around the UK, around the world, checking out some really cool ancient mysteries and stuff like that. So that is kind of the more international series, but they characters from both series appear in both series, if that makes sense. But honestly, it's just so good. The chemistry between the characters is really good. Because it's a longer series, there's a real couple of slow burn relationships that I really like. What I really like is how books in the series reference previous books. Like nobody has like a massive falling out, a big betrayal, and it's forgotten by the next book. These things really do work out and unfold over several books, which I absolutely love. So I would really recommend that. When it comes to kind of ratings, I'm not very good with ratings. I don't know what they all mean. There is some swearing, but there's not a lot of it. It's pretty clean, kind of sex and gore wise. However, it can be a little bit creepy. I remember pretty much I'm fine with all of them, but there was one book had a vampire in it, which I found quite chilling and was a little bit creeped out when I went to bed. So that's kind of the level. And I don't really like horror, so I'm very easily creeped out, to be fair. Another series that I've really enjoyed is the Vampire Knitting Club by Nancy Warren. This is exactly what it says on the tin. A young woman from the USA comes over to England to visit her grandmother, only to find that her grandmother has died and left her knitting shop, which is called Cardinal Wolseley's, which is really fun. And then she discovers a vampire knitting club in the cellar. And once she discovers these vampires in the cellar, adventures ensue. So she becomes a bit of a Jessica Fletcher. She's always there when there's a crime of some sort. It's usually a murder. And she teams up with the vampires in the knitting group to learn to knit, and also to solve these murders and these crimes and these mysteries that they come across. It's super cozy, despite the fact that there's murder in pretty much every book. There's no gore whatsoever. It's super clean. There is no swearing. There's barely any kissing, actually, and that's probably my only negative, because there is a slow burn romance within the series, and there just isn't a chemistry there for me, like there is in the Whitehaven Witches and Whitehaven Hunters series. There's a lot more chemistry there in the romantic relationships, but I'm not really, you know, reading this series for that, so that's fine. I just really love the fun characters, the kind of really cozy world they've created, and the most recent one has just come out, and it is going to spin off into another series that is set in Cornwall, so it'll be the Cornish Vampire Knitting Club. There's another spin-off series from it called the Vampire Book Club, which is set in Ireland, same premise, woman takes over a shop, discovers there's a vampire book club, solves mysteries. I actually don't think that's as strong for various reasons, but I have read all 4 that are available in that series. I'll probably read the next few just to see where it goes. But I think the Vampire Knitting Club it's just silly and fun and sweet and cozy, so I recommend that one. Now that's it for series, but there are a few really good standalone books that I would like to talk about. I recently finished The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling, and it is the sequel to The X-Hex, which I read last year. Now this is, if you are worried about swearing or scenes of a sexual nature, this is not for you, because it is a little bit more not safe for work, should we say. I'm not really sure what the ratings are. I probably should have checked before I talked about this, but it isn't clean. It isn't super clean. It's not particularly graphic in my opinion, but your mileage may vary. Now this is brilliant. As I say, it's the sequel to The X-Hex, and just so much fun. I thought the chemistry between the characters was great. I love an enemies to lovers. It's one of my favourite romance tropes, and I really enjoyed the characters themselves. They're people that I would like to get to know and like to be friends with in real life. They're very cool. The hero, absolutely gorgeous. And can I just ask, why are more heroes not Welsh? You get a lot of Irish heroes, you get a lot of Scottish heroes, you don't really get that many Welsh heroes. And I just want to say that that's unfair, because the hero in this is Welsh. He's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Everything he was saying I was reading in my head in a Welsh accent, which is a gorgeous accent. So, you know, I'm just saying, more Welsh romance heroes. Now, as I said, this was the second book in, I'm saying the series, I actually don't know if it's going to be a series. What I'm going to say is I hope it is a series. I've read The X-Hex and The Kiss Curse, and I want there to be a third one. Trilogies just feel so much neater to me. Now the next one, I'm going to just rave for a minute here. It is Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. Now I know that Juno Dawson has written quite a few books, but I have only read her memoir, The Gender Games, which I very much recommend. That's also very good. This is the first fiction book by Juno that I've read. I think the previous ones were young adult, which is not really my vibe. This is very adult, and it is brilliant. Oh, just go, whatever you do, just pause this, go and download it. If you're into like paranormal, fantasy, witchy stuff at all, just go and get it. It is so, so good. One of the things that I really loved about this book is the setting. It has got some bits and pieces in London, but it is mostly set up north in Hebden Bridge, and I just thought it was brilliant. The setting was great. The characters are great. It's very grey. None of the characters are good. None of the characters are bad. Well, some of the characters are bad, but there's kind of more moral ambiguity. You don't really know if someone's gonna go full bad. Oh, they are. Oh, it's just so good. It's so good that I cannot be coherent about it. I have already pre-ordered the sequel, The Shadow Cabinet, which is coming out in June next year. And I already know that it's gonna be a trilogy, which I assume the third one will be out in 2024, and I cannot wait. It is so clever. I think a lot of these, as you can tell, I read a lot in this genre, and the kind of magical system and the world building is usually where the stories fall down a little bit. It's usually a little bit woolly, what the parameters and the boundaries of people's powers are. No, this is so meticulous, this is so detailed, it's just so good. She knows this world inside out. Of course she does, she created it, but it is, you can tell she has a very strong grasp on the world, the mechanics of how everything works. It's just brilliant, and I cannot recommend it enough. And actually, I want someone to option it for TV or film. It'd probably make a better TV series, to be fair, because I think it would look gorgeous. Hebden Bridge is a really like good looking place, according to the book. I was picturing somewhere really pretty anyway. I think it would just make such a great series. Can we please get this on Netflix or something? Now, another one I want to talk about is actually not a supernatural fantasy romance or anything like that. It is a straight up romance, and it is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. And the chemistry between these characters, these two leads, was so good. I stayed up on a school night till about 2 o'clock in the morning because I had to finish it. I had to know what happened. It was so good that I'm actually scared to read any of her other books in case it's not that good. I have never come across two characters in a book who are so obviously meant to be together The chemistry just reaches out, wallops you around the face. It's so good. It is not clean, so if that bothers you, not for you. But if it doesn't bother you, please download it now. It's another download it now. It's so good. It's also super popular, so you've probably all read it already and you're like, Nikki, where have you been? But it was so good. The chemistry, mwah! Now I read everything on a Kindle, which is very annoying for moments like this when I'm talking about them on the podcast, because I have nothing pretty to show you, but I also don't have the space for masses of books. So I do read everything on my Kindle. Now, what I'm currently reading, I started last night and I'm already 14% in, I've just checked. And this is Not Good for Maidens, which is by Tony Bovalino. Bovalino? I'm not quite sure how that is pronounced, so apologies. It's already very, very good, because I stayed up last night and read the first 14% of it already. It's very good. It's based on The Goblin Market by Christina Rossetti, which is one of my favourite poems. Don't steal my tea, thank you. And it's about someone who gets kidnapped into the Goblin Market and they have to be rescued. So it's bang on with the kind of stuff I enjoy, as you can see by what I've recommended. Now, speaking of the fact that kind of supernatural fantasy stuff is my jam, there are a few others that I haven't read recently, but have left enough of a mark on me that I would like to recommend them. I'm fairly certain I've talked about The Folk of the Air by Holly Black. This is a series that I read last year and I had previously read it before then. So I've read it a couple of times and it's so good. There is a kind of secondary romantic subplot in there, which is very, very good. But what I love about it is the fact that it's mostly about political intrigue in the Fae court and like the wranglings for power. That is what makes it compelling for me. Another one that I read, I think it was last year, it was definitely during lockdown, so it could have been the year before last, was Legendborn by Tracy Dion, and the sequel Bloodmarked has just come out. Now, I'm sure I've mentioned on the podcast before, I'm a massive King Arthur nerd, and that's why I picked up this book, because it's not a retelling of the King Arthur legend at all. It's, I'm trying not to give anything away. It's an updated kind of version. So people who are descended from King Arthur and that legend still impacts their lives. I'm really trying not to give too much away, but the characters are fantastically well drawn. There's really good chemistry between the characters, and when I say chemistry, by the way, I don't always just mean romantic. I mean, you know, friends, enemies. There's got to be something, and it's very, very good. So Bloodmarked is already on my to be read pile. I've actually got the first in the Last Kingdom series downloaded on my Kindle, but because that's about 13 books long, I'm probably going to read Bloodmarked after Not Good for Maidens, because I don't want to wait for 13 books. So if you have any interest at all in King Arthur, I definitely think you should pick up Legendborn. It is very, very good. And it's just really clever, the way she's kind of built the world. I really enjoy it and I can't wait to see where it goes. Also hoping it's going to be a trilogy because I really like it. The final one that I really want to share, I'm fairly certain I did read this last year, or also potentially in 2020. It was during lockdown. It's a duology, so it's Six of Crows and It's Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Leah Bardugo, who also wrote Shadow and Bone. And in all honesty, yes, the Crows are in the Shadow and Bone Netflix series, but I absolutely 100% think that Netflix should have adapted Six of Crows over Shadow and Bone. I've read the Shadow and Bone trilogy and I've read the Six of Crows duology, and honestly, it's like they were written by two different people. The quality of Six of Crows is just a million times higher than Shadow and Bone. The way that I felt things at the end of that, I had so many feelings. I actually finished it on a train, Crooked Kingdom, the second one, I finished it on a train, and when I got off and my friend was there to pick me up at the station, he was just like, are you okay? Because I just kind of was like, I was dazed, and to this day, I still think about how that ended, to this day. And that is why I haven't read the other duology by Leah Bardugo, King of Scars? And I can't remember what the other one is. I haven't read it because I was like, I don't think I'm ready to be that beaten around the head by emotion. Don't think I'm ready to go back into that glass box of emotion. So yeah, those are all my recommendations. You okay there? Those are all my recommendations book-wise. I hope that makes up for kind of a bit of a boring whipped up. If you've read any of these, please let me know. I would love to know what you think. If these are on your to be read pile, boost them up, put them higher. It's got the Olive seal of approval. She's run off to rearrange her to be read pile based on my recommendations. You should too. But that's it for this week. I am going to finish up my cup of tea. I'm going to tidy up, and then I am going to go out for milk and other necessities, even though it's pouring. I hope wherever you are warm and cozy and not having to venture out into the rain. And I will see you very soon for another cup of tea and the big 100.